What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are doing well today. Man, so everybody's telling you to get your money out the bank. Everybody and their mom is telling you to get your money out the bank, but get your money out the bank and put it where? Like, what you gonna do with it? You're just gonna sit on a pile of hundreds, stuff it under your mattress. Hopefully your house doesn't, get broken into, or something awful like a fire. Like seriously, guys, it's ridiculous. Now, I'm not going to come on here and tell you guys to get your money out the banks. Not going to say that. Now, I'm not going to leave, $800,000, well over $250,000 in a bank account that's not covered any more than $250,000 by the FDIC, right? Like, there's some basic precautions that you should take when it comes to banking, right? We've seen a number of banks collapse. There probably will be more, but I'm not going to be a part of a bank run. I'm not. But I think it's so funny how history seems to just continuously repeat itself. And I'm not talking about 17th century history and stuff like that. I'm talking about just in the last decade. And if you're paying attention, if you guys are following the channel, we about making that money. We're about building multiple streams of income, passive income, dividend income, increasing our net worth. That's what we're about here. By the way, if you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing to the channel. And while you guys are at it, go ahead and smash that like button. I totally would appreciate that. And it was just wild to see the looks on these people's faces at the banks when I walked in there with these huge, heavy bags. It was ridiculous. It was just so funny just to watch these people, just to look at their faces as I approached them. This is back when, there were tons of tellers in the banks. There were long lines. Everybody was going into the bank on a Friday, for example, right? Everybody got paid. Everyone's looking to deposit their paycheck or cash their check or whatever transaction they're trying to do. Businesses were doing their whatever transactions and whatnot. Here I am coming in the bank with a bag that was about, I didn't weigh the bag, but it literally felt like it was about 70 pounds. So people are looking at me like, and I'm over here praying to God that the straps on this bag doesn't break, because it was like a Burberry bag. This bag that I used, it was not designed to be carrying this amount of weight in it. It just wasn't, right? So everybody in the bank's kind of like looking at me because I'm trying to be cool, right? Like I was a lot smaller back then. So carrying a bag this heavy, this far, because keep in mind, this bag that I brought in the bank, I took it out of the trunk, and I walked through the parking lot. It was busy, so I didn't get a up front close spot. So I'm like struggling and trying not to look like I'm struggling. I get through the doors, it's like two sets of double glass doors. I come inside, and I'm like borderline sweating, and I'm trying to be cool. Meanwhile, everybody's like looking at me, and I'm not going to stand in line carrying this thing. So I just pretty much almost dropped the bag on the floor. And you could feel the impact that this bag had on the floor. So the bankers are like looking at me, the tellers, people in line. And, I'm like, oh my God, can we just hurry up and get done with this, right? Because bad enough everybody's looking at me. But they're going to stare at me even more when they see what's in this bag. So as the line is like inching forward, I finally, seemed like forever, get to a teller. So by the time I get to the teller, I now have to lift this bag to like shoulder height, because the teller windows are they're like up to here on me. Anyway, so I set the bag down, and she's like, "Hey, how can I help you?" I'm like, "Well, I have an account here. I just want to make a deposit." She was like, "All right, do you have a deposit slip?" "Oh yeah, I already filled it out. I came prepared. I already had a bunch of deposit slips at home. So I went ahead and filled this out before I left the house." So she was like, "So what are you depositing?" And I'm like, "Well, I got $5,000-$10,000 worth of coins." She's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Okay, well, let's just start counting them." So there was so many of them that she needed help. Now, luckily, they were dollar coins. So it's not like I came in there with a bunch of pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, right? Now, I don't know if there's still a shortage of these coins, but there was a time when the Federal Reserve, they were really trying to push this adoption of using metal coins again. So they had all these, I think they had like a Sojourner Truth coin. They had like, all sorts of famous figures, historical figures. And she's the only one that I can remember whose face was on these coins, but maybe it was Abraham Lincoln. I don't know. I wasn't buying it for that reason. I was literally buying these coins. And the cool thing is the Federal Reserve, because they were literally just trying to promote these coins. They were giving them away. They were literally paying people to take their money. So I said, okay. Now, a lot of people are like, well, you need to stay away from credit cards because, this, that, and the other, you need to pay cash only. Everybody has their own financial philosophy. I get that. But me, I'm about that money. All right. And, I think that there's a time for cash and there's a time for credit. Now, me personally, I put everything on credit. I get these credit cards and I get these banks to pay me. Right. And they were for dang sure paying me on this one. So I go and deposit all this cash because that's all it was cash. And at the end of the day, the Federal Reserve was offering, I forget, was it the Federal? I think it was the Federal Reserve because it was so long ago. But the Federal Reserve was offering free shipping. Guys, it was free shipping. So you could buy I think it was like $100 in coins at a time. And I think if you spent more than $100 at a time, I think that's what it was. If you ordered $100 in coins at a time, or maybe it was $500 in coins at a time, they will give you free shipping. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just get $500 worth, right? Well, I got way more than $500 worth. I'll put it to you like that, right? But at the end of the day, I didn't need to use all these coins, so I used whatever I wanted to use. Gave them away as gifts, but ultimately, a significant amount was deposited. Now, here's the thing that a lot of people didn't realize that you could do. It was like they weren't stopping you from ordering as many as you wanted. So let's just say hypothetically, you bought millions of dollars worth of these coins over time, right? Even if you only had like a $10,000 credit limit, let's just say you bought 10,000 coins at a time. That's $10,000 worth, free shipping. You deposit it into your bank account. You then take that cash deposit that's now showing up in your bank account. And then you say to yourself, well, what am I going to do with this $10,000? Well, of course, unless you have a really good way of multiplying that money and compounding that money very safely, very, very quickly, you need to go ahead and pay that credit card off. Why? Because if you let that balance sit there, you're going to pay what a lot of other people are paying right now, getting destroyed by credit card interest rates, 19, 20%. So, that would be foolish to intentionally set yourself up paying 20% interest. So, just like any credit card nowadays, you pretty much have about 30 days to pay your credit card off before any interest is even assessed. So, took that 10 grand and paid the credit card off. So you're probably thinking like, well, where's the magic? Well, the magic comes when you look at how much cash back you've earned, right? So let's just say your card pays 5% cash back and you deposited $10,000 into your bank account in the form of these coins that you got for free. Well, that you got with free shipping, dollar for dollar, right? So you spent 10 grand on coins, but you deposited the 10 grand in coins into your bank account. But your credit card paid you 5% in the form of cash back, right? So, well, you just made $50 for very little work, very little effort. And you wash, rinse, and repeat. The banks didn't want you to know about that. And the funny thing is, the banks were literally paying you. Between the banks and the Federal Reserve, the Fed was literally paying you to take their cash. You know? And, you know, nobody, no, a lot of people just aren't paying attention to these different opportunities that exist. And there's opportunities all around if you learn to see them. But it was just so funny because every so often, as soon as I can get another order in, banks would see me coming in there with another big, huge, and then they start calling me, oh, there's that guy again with the bag. You know, because I was pretty much the only guy doing this, you know, and it was just wild. It was just like, it's just unbelievable. But, you know, I don't think banks wanted you to know about that. I really don't think that they wanted you to know about that. But comment down below. Let me know if this story was interesting to you. Have you done anything like this? Some people call it credit card arbitrage. I don't know what you call it. But, you know, it's a simple matter of buying, you know, there's these loopholes. Now, I've talked about this on previous videos. You know, I take these trips to take vacations on a fairly regular basis. I'm not paying for that. I will leverage these credit cards to pay me. I will leverage these credit cards to allow me to take free trips and get free vacations out of them, among many other different perks. So why do you want to keep good credit? So you can be able to take advantage of the opportunities that the system has put in front of you. You know? Simple as that, you know, and one of the easiest ways you can keep your credit high is to just pay your bills on time. And the other thing is keep that credit utilization low. You know, I normally try to target under 20%. Now, most people say keep your credit card utilization under 30%. But, you know, these are just some basic things anyone and everyone can do to get that credit score higher. Right. And the other thing I like to do is, you know, in terms of just little basic credit hacks. I mean, these are simple hacks. I just make sure that I'm never late. So you might say to yourself, well, how do you make sure you're never late? Well, I know which cards I'm using on a regular basis. So I just go ahead and, like, you know, I look at my statements over the last, say, year. And I'm like, okay. Now, minimum payment's never more than $75, you know, even if I use the card a lot. And I don't carry a balance. I always pay my balance off, right? But it's like, all right, if you know your credit card minimum payment is never more than $100, never more than $75, and then you say to yourself, okay, well, if my minimum payment's never more than, say, $75 in this example, but you also know that generally speaking, you're not gonna spend less than $500 a month. Because me, that's easy. I'm gonna spend $500 in probably a couple days. Every couple of days, just because, you know, different expenses that I have between the business and, you know, like just other things, day-to-day operations and stuff like that. I know there's no chance I'm going to spend less than $500 in any given month. So I just go ahead and set up a recurring payment of $100 every 2 weeks that goes right to my credit card. Now, that makes sense, right? Like, you could never be late if you pay on time, but you could never, ever be late if you pay twice a week, right? And I'm not losing any money. I'm gonna have to pay the card anyway, which I do. I always pay it down to zero. So even if I like forgot, I would never ever be late because the automatic payments are going. Second thing is like, you know, twice a month, I'm gonna look at the credit card statement anyway, and whatever balance exists, I'm going to pay that thing off. So if you did nothing else but just schedule a bi-weekly payment that's greater than your minimum payment, there's almost zero chance in life that you could ever be late. So little way to keep your credit score higher. And if you pay your credit card off once a week, every 2 weeks, just kind of like using it like a debit card. Well, what do you think that's going to do to your credit utilization? Well, your credit utilization stays super low, right? So that's automatically a boost to your credit score. And it's still going to show all the activity that you need to have your credit score be high if that's your goal. Me personally, I don't really care per se about keeping my credit score high. But I just want to make sure that, you know, everything's paid on time, and it's just simple for me. But anyway, guys, you can then take these profits that you're earning from these credit cards and invest them in the stock market. S&P 500's still cranking along. Last 50 years or so, 100 years, average rate of return on the S&P 500, 8 to 10%, guys. Easy money. And of course, you've got a Roth IRA. You can have ETF investments, index funds, stocks, all investing, compounding your money, and receiving preferential tax treatment by being in a Roth IRA. Your gains will grow tax-free in a Roth IRA. So it's like, if you don't have one of these, it's like, what are you doing? This is one of the simplest ways of building passive income streams that the IRS can't put their little grubby little fingers on. And they're okay with it. So, it's all about, investing in a way that makes sense. Now, I also have, brokerage accounts, traditional taxable, taxable brokerage accounts, and I'll use those once I've already maxed out the tax advantaged accounts, like your IRA, like your 401ks and all these other tax advantaged investment accounts. Like, I'll max those out first. And then once I can't do those anymore, then, look at other types of investments. Real estate, investing in real estate, I still really like that. Like they say, they're not making any more land. People need a place to stay. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of investing in land, because I don't see how, unless I'm investing in land that could later be used to farm on, or that could be used as a sporting event field, like a baseball field. I don't want the type of real estate that can't make me money. So if I buy land, that land needs to be able to generate revenue and passive income for me. So if I just buy random land that's not really usable unless you develop it, I better have someone in need lined up, already under contract, ready to rent from me if I just buy the dang thing, right? Now, if I buy farmland and I rent it out to farmers, okay, now the farmer can rent the land from me, and I'm generating passive income that way. But otherwise, I like single family residences. I can buy single family residences. I could buy a duplex. I can invest in a triplex, a quadruplex. And that's generating passive income from the tenants that I will put in these properties, and they will pay me every single month. Now, interesting thing is, most people who are eligible for buying a house could literally become real estate investors. Two ways. Well, there's many ways, but here's two easy ways. Number one, you do what I did in the past, qualify for a loan, you buy a house, and you buy the house with the idea in mind that you're planning to rent it out in the next 2 years or so. So now, once you rent the house out, or once you've lived in the house for, say, 2 years, you move, acquire a new house, put a renter in the old house. Now you have literally made the initial investment, and you've become a landlord, and now you're generating passive income from the gap between the mortgage cost and how much rent you're collecting. That's why it makes sense. That's why you have to make sure that you're buying a property that makes sense. Make sure it cash flows. And I don't like to bank on appreciation. Yes, appreciation does occur over time. But I don't want to bank on appreciation. I want to bank on the fact that I know that when I buy this house today, let's just say I'll buy a house today to live in, knowing I'm going to rent it out in 2 years. I want to make sure when I buy it today that the average going rent for houses like mine is less than the price of the mortgage. That way, I'm getting in this thing knowing it'll cash flow. How much less? That's entirely up to you. I might say, okay, I want to at least have a 5, 10, 15% spread. Maybe, it depends. Another way you could do it is, a lot of people don't realize that FHA loans are fairly easy to qualify for. You can go out there and get yourself an FHA loan and probably have as little as a 3% down payment. But you could take that FHA loan and invest in like a duplex, a triplex, You might even be able to get a quadruplex in there. I'm not sure if FHA will let you buy a quadruplex, but let's just say at a minimum, you got a triplex, right? Let's also say you live in one of those units. So you live in one unit, and then there's 2 other units with the triplex. You put renters in the other 2 units. You've now house hacked your way into basically getting your mortgage paid by the renters that live next door to you in your property, technically. Separate entry doors, separate, back doors and whatnot. But it's a fairly simple way for the average Joe to just start investing, even as a beginner, with little to no money down, and start building their net worth. Start generating passive income. Because remember, if you never figure out a way to work while you sleep, you will work until you die. I think Warren Buffett said that. Anyway, drop me some comments, guys. Let me know what you guys thought about today's video. I love to hear from you guys. If you made it this far in the video, definitely subscribe, like, and you should see a video here or there. Definitely check out my previous videos here, maybe down here somewhere. Check out those videos and let me know what you guys want me to talk about for future videos. I'd love to hear from you. Drop me some comments down below. Y'all be safe.